Rather than wax poetic about the waterfall I recently swam in, I'd rather devote a chapter to the time a Cambodian lady vomited so forcefully on the bus that it actually sprayed through the back of her seat onto another passenger's feet. Which leads us to chapter 2, Why Do Asians Puke on Buses? Which I'm not going to read right now. I'm going to go ahead and skip forward and get a drink of water. 1 second. So this is chapter 12, and as I said, it's like you're always stuck in second gear. Well, it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year, which may sound familiar to some people here. And this is a true story, as ridiculous as it sounds. The life lessons we can all learn from friends. You don't even have to watch the show. The theme song alone is a mini therapy session. Just relax, the lyrics imply, and your friends will get you through this rough patch. Whether it's Chandler's unfortunate relationship with Janice, Rachel and Ross's on-again, off-again romance, or Joey's struggle to become a legitimate actor, each show is a 30-minute conflict resolution wrapped in a tidy package, with a little help from the protagonist's friends, of course. Of all the cultures and ethnic groups we encountered on our trip, the uber-relaxed Lao people embodied this sitcom-friendly ethic to a T. Sure, they want to sell you a tuk-tuk ride, but unlike their neighbors in Vietnam, they won't hunt you down and give you a 20-minute sales pitch over a 5-minute ride. Rather, they'll just wave their hand dismissively and go back to doing shots of Lao Lao rice whiskey if you decline. Fun is more important than work to the Lao people. Our Lonely Planet guidebook suggests that Laotians won't even consider a job that doesn't have some element of fun to it. Why is this so? How could the Vietnamese and Lao people, so close geographically and ethnically, act so differently in their everyday dealings? The Vietnamese sell, sell, sell. The Laotians sleep, sleep, sleep. Some people claim that the Laotians have always been this way. It's simply their nature to be relaxed and mellow. Others cite their passivity as a cultural response to centuries of oppression and struggle. My theory? There's a town in northern Laos that broadcasts Friends reruns around the clock from every single television in every bar in the town. It's pretty clear to me that this show is hypnotizing and brainwashing the entire country by osmosis. Perhaps I should back up. The town I speak of is called Vang Vieng, and it's the middle stop on what's become a well-worn 3-part tourist trail through the heart of the country. To the south lies the urban capital of Vientiane, a moderately bustling city that was heavily influenced by French colonial rule. To the north, rustic Luang Prabang offers ancient temples and postcard-friendly views of the bordering Mekong River. Smack dab in the middle is Vang Vieng, the best place in Southeast Asia to get stoned out of your gourd on pot milkshakes and watch the episode where Joey gets his head stuck in a turkey. In fact, pot-laced foods and friends have become such staples in Vang Vieng that all the guidebooks mention the town's TV bars specifically. I know how bizarre this all sounds. I was skeptical too. But once you wander the streets for yourself and witness hundreds of zonked out backpackers kicking back on axe pillows, ordering round after round of beer lao, and in some cases singing along with the theme song, there's no denying it's real. Here's how it works. Just grab a seat at one of the dozens of TV bars that line most of Vang Vieng's streets. Take a look at the menu. Is there something called a Happy Shake that costs way more than an ordinary milkshake should? That's a pot milkshake, my friend. Don't miss the Happy Pizza, an equally popular choice. Of course, if you don't see any happy items on your menu, it's possible that your particular TV bar doesn't sell drugs. But it's more likely that you simply have to ask for the special happy menu, which should be loaded with plenty of delicious, discreet ways to help you turn on, tune in, and drop out. As for the friends part of this strange equation, it's an unusual phenomenon, but one I believe is easily explained using logic. See, Vang Vieng sits in the middle of one of the most stunning natural settings in all of Asia. Consequently, it's visited by armies of outdoorsy backpackers. And while outdoorsy backpackers enjoy hiking and biking and kayaking in and around the area's magnificent limestone cliffs, they also enjoy doing drugs, lying on pillows, and watching TV directly after those sorts of activities. Friends is a no-brainer. The snappy, laugh-a-minute dialogue sucks you into episode after episode. And without any commercials to bring you back to reality, it's easy to rip through half a season in a single setting. Still not getting the appeal? Imagine that you're higher than the International Space Station, and people keep bringing you food and milkshakes to munch on. Joey's wearing all of Chandler's clothes. Monica's wearing a fat suit. Rachel's going commando. Ross just fell down. Go boom. Ha, 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 ha. You see why it's so hard to get up once you sit down? Now, I'm not just saying this because my friends and family and potential future employers are reading this book, but for all my talk of happy shakes in this chapter, Liz and I abstained from doing any drugs on our trip. My reasons for doing so should be obvious. I'm the reluctant traveler, and I was scared to death of getting caught. There are two possible punishments for crossing the Thai border with drugs on your person: life in prison or death. Laos is a little more laid back than that, but I still didn't want to risk it. However, I'm here to report that it's still pretty damn amusing to watch 35 episodes of Friends in a row in what is essentially a clearing in the middle of a Southeast Asian jungle, even if you're not under the influence of mind-altering substances. Of course, we very nearly missed out on this special cultural experience. On the way to Vang Vieng, as we careened along half-finished roads through the Laotian countryside in a creaking minivan, Liz suggested we should avoid indulging in the guilty pleasures of the town's TV bars. Her argument was that we ought to spend all of our time exploring the trails, caves, and indigenous villages that surround the area. I wasn't so sure. Right before leaving Luang Prabang, I'd come down with a cold, my coughing and snotting making our 6-hour minivan ride all the more miserable. I was so out of it upon our arrival that I spurned the money-saving idea of splitting a room with a fellow traveler, instead stomping off to find my own digs with Liz in tow. To me, lazing out in front of a TV for the first time in months sounded downright amazing. With a $3 per night room booked and our heavy bags locked safely away, we were finally able to grab a bit of real food and relax. We were both exhausted from the journey, so it didn't take long to wear down Liz's defenses and drag her across the street to the first TV bar we could find. From the looks of things, they were somewhere in the middle of season 7 or 8, after Ross and Rachel had a baby out of wedlock, but before Chandler and Monica started getting serious. It wasn't classic Friends, but it was a nice, solid run of episodes before the show amped up the sentimentality just before the grand finale. In short, it would do. One of the weird things about traveling for an extended period in the third world is that it's easy to completely lose your sense of time. Imagine it, you have virtually unlimited money relative to your expenses and 0 responsibilities. The particular evening I've been describing to you took place in late December, and the only real thing we absolutely had to do in life was make it to Bangkok by March for a series of flights to Argentina. As I sat there watching Joey accidentally propose to Rachel, soothing my raw throat with mango smoothie after mango smoothie, it occurred to me that this was the only thing in the world I needed to accomplish. Truly, the only thing propelling us forward on our trip was our man-made, or rather woman-made, itinerary. An artificial guideline that would have us spending nearly as much time riding buses, trains, and boats as not in the next 60 days. It was tempting to consider the alternative. Toss the itinerary, we can do whatever we want. Why visit Vietnam? Liz already warned me that the country wouldn't be as easy to travel in as Thailand or Laos. We could spend another couple weeks in Vang Vieng, pop down to Vientiane for some French food, then circumvent the rest of our loop through Southeast Asia and head back to Thailand for a boatload of beach time. Right about now, you're probably asking yourself, what's wrong with me? No, not what's wrong with you, the reader. What's wrong with me, your author and friendly narrator? Why would this jerk who's lucky enough to get almost an entire year off work want to waste so much time sitting around watching Friends in the middle of nowhere? It's a fair question, considering I haven't revealed Vang Vieng's other main attraction yet. What if I told you there was a small river that ran through Vang Vieng, and that this river is mostly slow and shallow with a few deep spots for diving? In other words, a river perfect for inner tubing. Of course, at this point, it would be prudent to remind you that it's almost always sunny and extremely hot and humid in Laos, so one would have ideal inner tubing weather nearly every day. What if I then went on to inform you that dozens of makeshift bamboo bars have sprung up along the riverside? And some of the bars have set up massive towers equipped with bungee cords, platforms, and even zip lines, which travelers can plunge into the water after becoming sufficiently lubricated on the local rice whiskey. Would you find this information relevant? Okay, I concede it's still not enough to justify more than about a week in the town, but you have to admit that the unbelievable natural beauty, drunken inner tubing, and endless Friends reruns are a seductive combination. I had a great time in Vang Vieng, in spite of the Asian death bacteria that had infected my sinuses. We hit all the recommended attractions. One day spent riding a rented motorbike through the countryside, swimming in a lagoon, spelunking in a cavern, followed by dinner and Friends. The next day, breakfast, Friends, drunken inner tubing, Friends, dinner, Friends, dessert, Friends. The day after that, Friends, nap, Friends, internet, Friends. Yeah, things were going pretty well for us in Vang Vieng. And you know, I think I just may have been able to persuade Liz to stay a little bit longer if it weren't for another quirky Western hobby that Lao people have become obsessed with: karaoke. It's amazing, really. The people of Laos have put up with an awful lot over the years. You'd never guess it based on their happy-go-lucky way of life. They're charming in a very sincere way, never in the sort of jaded, salesy way like some of the Thais who've been dealing with tourists for years. They're entrepreneurial but never pushy like their neighbors in Vietnam. Traveling in Laos is fun, safe, and relatively easy. And yet there's one way in which I believe the Lao people have been seriously stunted by the various tragedies that have been perpetrated on them over the years. They have no musical talent. It's hardly their fault. Until recently, popular music was not even allowed as an art form in the country. During the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, when the rest of the world, even Vietnam, was experiencing musical growing pains, going from the British invasion, the disco era, to synth rock, to hip hop, to Michael Bolton, to Color Me Bad, to Nirvana, to the crowning achievement of all musical theory, Britney Spears, Laos was shut out from it all. They were bombed from all sides, closed off to the rest of the world, and largely ignored. When they finally stopped getting bombed and landmined into oblivion and put together some sort of independence, their new government promptly outlawed pop music. So is it really a big surprise that they're completely terrible at it? I hope you don't think that I simply don't enjoy loud music because it's different. Trust me, by any objective standard, loud pop is the worst sort of ear poison you can imagine. By comparison, the amateur Thai kids we saw performing original pop songs, in Thai, mind you, at a Loy Krathong festival, sounded like the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. Loud pop is whiny, trebly, reverby, quavering, off-key howling like you might find a smashed local belting out in the karaoke bar of a 24-hour bowling alley somewhere on the outskirts of Vegas. And that's their produced music. Degraded another few notches, and you have loud karaoke, horrifyingly produced music sung by the most amateur singers imaginable. You know how at the start of the season of American Idol, all they do is show terrible singers completely fucking up songs? That's what the music in Laos is like all the time. And here's the bad news, they fucking love it. Bless their hearts, they get together in the evenings, down a few shots of Lao Lao, absolutely shit on and destroy the art form of music with their karaoke singing, then laugh and high-five about it until the wee hours of the night. It's a spectacle to behold. Unfortunately for us, it was a spectacle we could overhear from our $3 hotel room all night long, every night. Technically, the government imposes a curfew in Laos. All restaurants and bars are supposed to close at 11 p.m. But this was the holiday season, and the town was overrun with young travelers who were used to staying up all night on New Year's Eve. On December 31st, after a pleasurable day of, what else, friends and inner tubing, Liz and I tossed and turned and groaned our way through a loud karaoke-filled night en route to less than 3 hours of decent sleep. And just like that, the dream of wasting another week or two lounging around in Vang Vieng died a sudden violent death. While friends nurtured me back to life in the daytime, the vile, ear-splitting, loud karaoke drained my very life force each and every night. I couldn't live this way any longer. So I agreed it was time to head south for the relatively refined comforts of the big city Vientiane. If you put any stock in the butterfly effect, it was the perfect time to leave. After all, if we hadn't gone to Vietnam, we wouldn't have seen Ho Chi Minh's body, which means this book would have been one chapter shorter. And if we had made it to the Thai Islands any earlier, we may not have been able to meet up with our friend Austin, which means that there may not have been a pants pooping, which means that this book would have been 2 chapters shorter. If you need a copy of the book, see Kate right here. Thank you.